Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round 5 of the MotorMotion ShawFire V8 Supercars series. ShawFire, they provide unique solutions to your signage and display needs. From business cards and stickers to factory signage and vehicle wraps, they can make you stand out. So make sure you visit www.shawfire.com.au. the proud official sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series. Tonight in the commentary box you do have myself, Joel Austin. We are going to be here at Sardegna B for 34 laps. That entails 12 turns, which are 3.8 kilometers long per lap. As we move now to look at the qualifying position in the Brock lobby, in first place we've got Ace Scott, second place Foster, third place Carter, and in fourth place Patasso. Fifth place is Piers, sixth place is Colin, seventh is Camarelli, and eighth we have Adard. Ninth we've got Peyton, 10th Taylor, 11th Cartwright, and 12th Griffin. Tailing out the field we've got S. Taylor in 13th, Atkinson in 14th, and Harcourt there, rounding out our field in 15th. Make sure, guys, that you are sharing us with the hashtag Light It Up. Share us across the socials. Let's light this up and make this an amazing round as we now cross over to the live coverage, getting ready to go under green lights. And we are racing as we see Rolls get a good jump, and Dids jumping out from behind there, grabbing the grass. It looks like he's grabbed the wall as well. That's not Dids, I'm sorry, that is Nick Piers in the background. The teammate for the Stripe Racing got a cracking start, and we see Ando run wide out into the sand. He's come back on. Oh, doesn't look like there's been much contact made. He's now side by side with Kane Payton of Ned Racing there in 11th place. So Kane is in 10th. He's made the jump on him. Wow, these cars are close coming through the corners here. As we jump up to our new race leader, Rolls. Got a considerable gap as he gets the car all sorts of sideways. Coming down into a very technical part of the course. It's where you have the foot flat down. Very difficult. Making sure we come up here into the next very tight braking corner. You want to get a good strong line out of here. You want to get the car going fast. He's done that. Spud is close on his heels though. Looks like that Mustang is actually doing a great job of keeping up. He's right on the tails of Rolls. And he doesn't look to be going anywhere anytime soon as we move down the field. Dids with a great launch for Stripe Team Racing there in third place. Colin not far behind in fourth. Moving down to fifth, we've got Aussie. Mr. Taylor doing a great job there for WTCC Racing. Moving down, we've got Super VT, another Mustang up there at the pointy end of this field. Having a great ride so far. Griffo, Ryoff, and Lewis all just seconds behind. We've got Ando making a comeback from his unfortunate off. He looks to have made ground on Kane. He's got that move done somehow. Doesn't look to be missing any paint, so it's been done cleanly. Well done as he runs a purple in the first sector. He's going to need to do that to make up ground and get back up to first. So we look there with Kane Payton in 11th place. We've got GLR Scotty making his way up the field. Lee Strine too there in 12th, the Gridline Racing. They need a good result here tonight. We've got Wayno in 13th and Rusty there in 14th for Mash Spud Racing. Pearsey with that unfortunate crash at the start line. Managed to get the car off the line really well, but grabbed a bit of grass and that inside rail right off the start. That's going to set him back. He's going to need to put his big boy pants on to drive as fast as he can around the 34 laps here at Sardegna Road B in the MotorMotion ShawFire V8 Supercars series. As we now jump back up to our race leader Rolls, who seems to put on a massive gap between himself and second place from what we just looked at before. He's absolutely flying with those orange numbers on the side of the car. Our point series leader wants to make sure he stays the point series leader. He doesn't want to give those orange numbers up for anyone, but there's a lot of laps here to go as we're only on lap 3 of 34. Really interesting to see the lineup of the cars so far. We've got Camaro Mustang by another Camaro, the teammate. So West End Motorsport doing very well in the opening laps here, having position 1 and 3. We've got Dids has made his way up through the field. Strike Team Racing in 4th. Aussie Hypnotic WTC's also moved up in 4th. So we've seen Monica looks like she's slipped down a few positions. Griffo doing a great job driving through, and Super VT, there she is. The second Mustang so far that we've seen in 7th place. And it looks like Ando hot on her heels already. Will he be able to get this move done before the braking zone? He goes right up beside her. He's got it. Adequate racing room left, very professional. Well done. As he looks to make up some ground, flying through the field. Endo's up to 7th after that off on lap 1. Just missed his brake zone. Got out in the sand, decided to build a sandcastle. This guy's fast enough to make it work anyway. He's coming back with everything that he's got now. He's right on the bumper of Griffo. Wow, look at him go. Almost gets the move up the inside, but can't quite get there and pulls out. He's pushing hard, staying tight in that slipstream of Griffo. You'll probably get to see the move done here. Late to the braking zone and now hard on the accelerator, as we see. Will Griffo be able to hold the place, or is he going to loot it out to Ando in the next couple of corners here? Ando's sticking with him like glue. He hasn't got it done yet, but I'm quite certain that he will get it done now. Coming onto the main straight, pulls out of that slipstream, gets a bit of clean air, and he makes it past him right before the checkered flag. Well done. He's making a very aggressive attempt to get himself back up to first in a couple of laps. Lap 1 we saw him off in the sand, and now we're here on lap 5. He's back up to 6th place. So he's doing absolutely fantastic. As we go down through the grid, we've seen Griffo there in 7th, Super VT in 8th. HC Lewis in 9th, followed very closely by a massive battle pack of Kane Payton, Ryoff and GLR Scotty. Those guys are as close as you can be, with Wayno right on the backside of that. These guys are going to be pushing each other. This stack of 4 drivers absolutely pushing the metal to its absolute limit. They want to be the race winner here today. They're giving it all they've got, and any mistake that anyone makes, the next driver will capitalise on. As we see Peasy doing a good recovery drive. He's got past Rusty. He's got onto the back of this battle pack here. Good opportunity for him to save a bit of fuel, get him that slipstream, and also take advantage of any mistakes these guys make. So he'd be able to see himself jump a couple of positions if something goes wrong with that battle pack there. They are fighting pretty hard, as we see that main battle pack starting to split into 2 groups. We see Kane Payton and Ryoff starting to break away from Scotty and Wayno, but it's not over yet. Those guys will work together using the slipstream. Coming up here into turn 1. Hard on the brakes. We see Ryoff make the move on Payton. Scotty maintains 12th while Wayno's there, hot on his heels for 13th. This is a massive battle at the back of the field, and we're only on lap 6, ladies and gentlemen, as we move back to our race leader, Rolls. He's getting that gap even further apart. Absolutely pushing that Dodo vehicle to its limit. If my dial-up speed was any quicker, I tell you what, I'd have that race lap speed just like Rolls. Now, as we move down the field, we see Spud not far behind in that Mustang. We can see there's a bit of difference in the tyre wear and fuel between the 2 cars. It's not much, but we do see Rolls with a little bit more tyre wear and a little bit more fuel. Where we see, oh, the tyre wear is actually quite even as we go back, but Spud in the Mustang has managed to save a fair bit more fuel than Rolls. I don't think it's enough to jump in the gap with the first stop, which will be coming probably around lap 11, 12. But he's definitely doing very well conserving the fuel there in the Mustang. As we see, he's also put on a massive gap from Ando. Ando making his way up through the field. Last we saw him, he was in 6th place, so he's absolutely flying. We see that he's actually got the fastest lap of the race in that last stint that he's just done with a 1:17.0. Now, guys, just for reference, in qualifying, Ando did a 1:16.643. So he's really pushing this car, and he's making overtakes. If he had clean air, I would not doubt that that would be a 1:16, maybe even a 1:16.5. He's absolutely flying through the field. Come back from, where was he? He was 12th or 13th at one point. Now he's back up to 3rd just in a couple of laps. He's really pushing this car. You see there's a fair bit of tyre wear and he's used a bit more fuel than Spud. But if he can keep this aggressive driving up over the course of the race, probably see him overtake first place. Absolute fantastic drive so far. Well done. Moving to 4th, we've got Dids coming across the line. He's pushed out a 1:18.6. So as we can see, there's a bit of a time gap between 3rd place speed and 4th place. That's how he's managed to get around him. We see Aussie right on the back of Dids, pushing it. He's got a better angle through that corner. Here's a battle here, ladies and gentlemen, as we see the WTCC car really pushing up the inside of the Strike Team Racing. Is he going to make the move stick as they go side by side through yet another corner? And it looks like they're going to stay side by side. No, Dids has conceded the corner. And he's back in front. Aussie Taylor, the 420, manages to get the move done on the Strike Team Racing driver. Managed to stay in front. Now he files back in and Racing consumes. We will see if Dids can manage to get the move back past him again later in the race, or whether Aussie's now got this in the bag. He does look very composed, very straight, but so does Dids. He's now in the slipstream. Maybe this is part of his strategic plan to save a little bit of fuel, a little bit of tyres by staying that slip. See the brake lights come on, different lines around the corner there. Fantastic drive for Strike Team Racing over the last couple of weeks. Been really good to see them up the order. Hopefully Nick Pearce, teammate, can make his way up through the field, give the team some solid points for round 5. You see these battle packs starting to get a little bit closer once again. Not only is there Aussie, Dids and Griffo, but right behind we've got Super VT and HC Lewis now pushing to stay part of this contention pack, with Kane Payton and Colin not far behind as well. So it's almost like a line of cars trying to stay within each other's slipstream. This could be a strategic sort of advantage that these guys in the mid-pack managed to maintain over the leaders by saving a lot more fuel. We'll just have to stay on board with this and make sure that these guys can get the move done, as we see a lot of tyre wear there on the Ned Racing car of Kane Payton. Moving down to Colin, we're seeing considerably less. So maybe in the closing laps of this first stint, he might be able to get past Kane and get himself up a little bit closer to his teammate, who's currently in first place. Ryoff, we've just seen grab a little bit of sand, which has opened the door for Wayno and Pearsey. These guys will be looking to make a move in the next couple of corners if they can get past. Bit of a tight track here, there's not a lot of room. We see more sand flying across the track. Ryoff's done really well with his tyres though, as we compare that to the rest of the field. He's really looked after the fronts. We see Wayno starting to go up the outside. He probably won't be able to get the move done around the outside, but will he get the crisscross? No. As Pearsey looks on the inside, he couldn't get it done. Now Pearsey's right on that bumper of Wayno. The battle at the rear of the field is getting intense, as we see Pearsey's tyre wear is pretty impressive. He's got about a quarter of a tank of fuel, but he's right on the back of Wayno. Rusty Nuts is still doing a good job there in 14th. The GLR Scotty's now moved down to the rear of the field. He's got a lot more fuel. Maybe it's a different strategy for him. Maybe he's going to go a little bit longer and do a shorter stint at the end. Is it going to be a very long overlap for him, or is it not going to pay off? As we move back to our race leader, who's just gone across the line, starting lap 11 of 34. We're getting close to the pit window, ladies and gentlemen. We expect to see them in on lap 12. That's the halfway mark of this race. So the 270, our current championship leader of the Brock Lobby, Rolskin Hardley, Looks like he's opened that gap up. His tyre wear is quite considerable. That right rear tyre wearing a lot more than the rear left. He's really pushing that car with everything he's got. We can hear this tyre squealing as he comes around the corners there. One of the fastest parts of the track. Absolutely flat out, gets the car right up to about 290 kilometres. Turns in tight, we see the disc absolutely glowing red. So we go on board now with Rolls as he finishes this lap. As we see Rolls get a little bit wild there across the start-finish line. We've seen he's decided to go for that extra lap. He's doing one more than 12, so he's going to do a 13 stint, which will give him 11 on the end. As we see Aussie come in where the pit window is finally opened, 16% fuel remaining, so he's saved quite a bit. The drop back to Ando's not too far. He starts to come around that first and second corner. And Spud right on the tail of him, so he has lost out that position to Ando. Unfortunately, we did miss that. So you see Spud really struggling with those front tyres as well now. We look back up to Ando. He's managed to save a little bit extra on Spud. Not quite as much fuel. They're very close, very even. I wouldn't say there's anything in it. Between the stop, the tyres are going to be the same between the two drivers. Fuel is where it's at. If you can save some fuel, you're going to gain some time in the stop. As we see the brake disc absolutely glowing from Spud into that chicane. He's pushing this car as fast as he can. He doesn't want to lose out to Ando. He's trying to stay in that slipstream, and Ando's absolutely pushing the crap out of that Camaro. He's driving the wheels of it. As we see both of these drivers probably likely to come in on the end of this lap. Yeah, as we see Ando go into the pit lane there. Spud stays out for the extra lap. He's trying to go for the overlap on both Rolls and Ando. Can he make it work? He's probably only just got enough juice to get around one more time. So he'll be in there with very low fuel on the next lap, as we see Rolls with 2%, Ando with 8, HC Lewis with 6. Super VT's just coasted into the pits. Dids has decided to go the extra lap as well. Right off there with 12% fuel. He's got the most fuel out of the lot of them. In the Jack Daniels Racing entry, he's managed to save a lot of fuel. We see Colin with 5, Pearsey with 1%, Peyton with 10, Griffin with 4, GLR Scotty with 12%, and Rusty there with 2% fuel. As we jump back out onto the field, we know that both Dids and Spud have not stopped, but Rolls has. He's back out on the track, and he's absolutely flying. Remember, he does have cold tyres, so he will have to be careful on his opening lap. But guess what? Ando's managed to have the drive from nowhere. He's right back on the back of Rolls. It's only lap 13, and he's managed to catch up an absolute massive amount of time in the last couple of laps. He's not far. In the next couple of laps, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the back of Rolls. Moving down the field, the teammate Aussie there in 5th place. So he's not too far behind Ando. I'd say it's a similar gap between Ando and Rolls as it is to Ando and Aussie. But as we see our leaders now coming into the pits, Spud with the race lead at the moment, 2% fuel. Dids right there behind him with 1%. These guys have pushed the cars to their absolute limit. But it looks like Rolls going past the pits. He's managed to make it work for him. Going in earlier, getting the fresh tyres. He's there and he's past, and Ando is as well. As we see Spud coming out of pit lane right now in 3rd place. Done a great job. He's managed to gain a position there in the pits. And it looks like Dids hasn't quite managed to come out as quick as Spud. So we see Aussie there who has jumped Dids, and so has Wayno. Dids there in 6th place for Strike Team Racing. But the thing is, he has managed to pit a lap later, so his tyres are going to last a little bit longer than some of the guys ahead. If he can keep his nose down and remain looking at the asphalt, have a fantastic drive towards the end of this stint, He should be able to make up a bit of ground on the guys that are ahead of him right now. As we go down through the order, we've got Super VT in 7th place, and we've got Ryoff there in 8th, hot on her heels for Jack Daniel Racing. HC Lewis pushing that Mustang as hard as he can. He wants to catch up to his teammate Super VT. They want to work together, use each other's slips, save a bit of fuel, and push each other to go as fast as they can. Colin there in 10th place. We've seen him do some fantastic laps. He just needs to stay consistent. If he can do that until the end, he'll see himself in a very good position. We've got Kane Payton in 11th place. This is the furthest down the field. We've seen the Ned Racer for quite a while, absolutely putting everything on that he can. We've seen some lap times there, 19s and 18s with a 1:1:20 so far in between. Probably caught up in a little bit of a battle, I would say, but as long as he can keep his nose clean, I'm sure he can make his way up through the field. We've got Peasy right on his tail. He wants to stay right in that slipstream of Kane and Colin. Those three are very good drivers. I'm sure that they will manage to push their way up through the field at least a little bit. But like we've said every week so far, the competition in the ShawFire V8 Supercar Series is so intense. These drivers are of the next level caliber. All of these guys know how to keep this car straight and how to keep it fast. That's why they are in the Brock lobby, the top tier lobby of the ShawFire Series. These guys are absolute animals, pushing their cars to the limit every single week. So we see Pearcey get right on the back end of Kane through that corner. Kane slightly held up there by Colin through the last couple of bends, unable to make a move, having to back out and losing a bit of time. Now Colin getting a bit of a gap away from the Ned Racer. We'll have to wait and see if he can make any ground up through these last corners, which he does. He gets right up onto the back of Colin, right up the main straight, using the slipstream to his full advantage, and Pearcey's coming along for the ride. He says, don't forget about me, mate, I've got that +1 ticket. You see a very heavy braking zone. Pearcey pushing his nose out to the left, not looking to take the inside dive, but just to get a little bit of clean air, as these cars are starting to run hot now on lap 16 of 34. As we move down the field, we've seen Pearcey there in 12th. We've got Griffo 13th, not far behind, but he's not quite in contention to stay with that battle pack. We've got GLR Scotty's made his way up into 14th from last position for Gridline Racing. He's going to need to put on some fantastic driving to get himself up the field. Rusty Nuts, unfortunately, not having the best drive there for Mash Spud Racing, but he is still giving it all he's got. Unfortunately, his time's just not as competitive as with our leaders. As we move back to Rolls, pushing out the 1:17s now. Absolutely flying along, but the fastest lap still belongs to Ando, as we can see him in the background making a ton of ground on Rolls. We see the brake disc glowing through the corners. He's giving the car everything it's got. This car is definitely going to need a service by the end of this. There's going to be warning lights all over the dashboard by the time this race is over. As we now go on board with Ando for a lap around Sardegna Road B. Looks like Ando is starting to make a little bit of ground on the back of Rolls. It's very close between the two drivers. We've seen Ando do a 1:17 flat almost, and Rolls with a 1:17.5. So 500th there between them in time on that last lap. Half a second does not sound like a lot, ladies and gentlemen. But I can tell you now, in a racetrack around here, it is a massive gap. It's almost a car length. These guys are absolutely flying the ShawFire V8 Supercars series, where we are recreating the next gen Supercars, which will be starting in March. These cars are the road cars. We've got the Camaro and the Mustang, all fully tuned to get the viable speed and downforce as close as possible to real life. Now the Gen 3 cars don't have as much downforce as their predecessors, making the cars a little bit more lively around the track, giving more emphasis on the drivers to be able to drive the cars safely around here. And due to the tuning aspect, we've seen some very different strategies between drivers, whether they're trying to save tyres and fuel, or whether they're trying to absolutely do qualifying lap after qualifying lap. So we see Spud posting a 1:17.6. He's not far off the leader's pace, but unfortunately he's got a lot of ground to make up. So unless he can find a bit of time, or unless the guys in front of him make a mistake, I don't believe he's going to be able to catch up to these guys. But who knows, there might be another pit stop happening. We'll just have to wait and see. As we move down to Aussie, there's a considerable gap between the next Camaro on the field. For WTCC, Aussie Taylor is pushing this car. He wants to catch up, and he wants to get away from Wayno. Wayno there, Juice Racing, 5th place. So Cartwright really having a smooth run around here today. It's probably the highest up that I recall seeing him on the field in the middle of the race. He's doing quite well. The team's definitely got the build right for him. Practice has done well. He's seen himself up the order. Car number 13. Having a great drive. 5th place. Maybe we can see him get up to the podium. We don't know. As we come across the line at the end of lap 19, pushing on to lap 20. See our drivers here now getting ready to think about what is going to be see Dids in 6th place, making his way around for Strike Team Racing. HC Lewis in 7th. Super VT, she's lost out a few positions there. We missed that on camera, but she has dropped down the field. She's now in 8th place behind her teammate of HC Lewis. Considerable amount of fuel. Probably see these Mustangs maybe pit a little bit later than the Camaros. They seem to have a little bit more fuel. Well, in saying that though, been proven wrong, as Pearsie has saved a massive amount of fuel. He did come in a bit later. He's made his way up the field quite a bit. He's in 9th place at the moment, after his incident right on the starting line, running wide into the wall. I expect to see him in probably maybe lap 25. Based on the fuel that he's got there, but it depends on his tyres. If he pushes his car too hard, I'd say he might come in a bit earlier. He's going to have his work on him to get past the teammates ahead. As you can see them taking up the entire road coming up into turn 1. HC Lewis has just conceded the position back to Super VT. He says, look, mate, you're faster than me, off you go. Super VT says, yeah, thanks mate, I will see you later. Because she looks like she's starting to make a gap already. Oh wow, ladies and gentlemen, we have missed it as we move back to our race leader now for the first time, Ando. He's managed to get past Rolls. We've missed that, sorry. Oh, as we see Rolls absolutely throw the car into the corners, trying to catch up to Ando. Ando's also gained himself a half-second penalty for crossing over the line. So now that these guys have both made a mistake, Rolls not getting the penalty though, will be able to make up the ground on the back of Ando. Ando's been driving like an absolute alien, moving himself back up from 13th or so after the very first lap. Now we're here on lap 22, and he's managed to get himself past Rolls on lap 21. What an incredible drive. I'd say there's going to be something going on in the background, but who knows? We'll see the orange numbers there on the side of Rolls. He is our championship leader. Will he be able to do anything to catch up to Ando, who seems to just have a little bit extra in his car tonight? Rolls giving a little bit extra for the fans, throwing the car left, right and centre, getting a little bit of a drift going through some of the corners. Definitely not good for tyre wear or speed, but he looks like he's having a lot of fun. And I don't think he's too worried at this point in time. We'll see Ando serve this half-second penalty. Now this is going to be massive, coming on to the main straight. Oh, we see a lot of speed cut off the back of that car. So we see Rolls now making up a lot of ground on the back of Ando. As we get up to turn 1, things will be reset and driving will resume. If we can see the lap times there with Rolls, he's doing 18s and 17s. Ando's managed to do 18 17s with the odd 16 thrown in. The fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:16.869. As we see Wayno come into the pits, 5% fuel remaining. He's going to fill up to make sure he's got 11 laps to go, and that will see him to the end of the stint as our leaders push on for that extra lap. Like we said, it'll be lap 23, 24 that we expect to see these guys in here. The 12-12 seems to be the strategy, but most of these guys did that extra lap at the start. Will they do that extra lap now to have a shorter fueling period and help themselves jump a little bit of time in the pits? Or are they going to come in now? As we see, Rolls probably doesn't really want to push on for another lap looking at those tyres. He's really punishing this car. He wants to make sure he stays on the lead, and he's gone wide. He's held the car. Incredible composure for him himself to make sure he didn't make a mistake. We've seen Ando come in, and Rolls says, you know what? Against all odds, I'm going to try and go again. Little bit of a side tap on the wall there. I think he tried to put off the pit boys there at WTC. Bang! They all turned, but they're focused on getting the tyres on this car. As we see Spud go out for an extra lap as well. His fuel and tyres are a lot better than the other two. He's going to comfortably be able to go around a couple more laps. He's there in second place as we see Dids, once again, following the same strategy as Spud, go out for a little bit longer. Ando's already back out of the pits in fourth place, so he's really only lost 2 positions. But he does have an entire pit stop on the other guys. He's going to race out until the end of the race here. He might have overfueled with an absolutely full tank, but I don't think that's going to matter. If he can push the car, he's going to absolutely be able to catch up at least to second place. It's all going to be down to Rolls and where he comes out after this pit stop. As we go down through the field, we've got Colin who hasn't stopped. He's gone an extra one as well. He's in 5th place. He probably should have pitted, but we'll just have to wait and see where he comes out as well. Kane Payton, that front right tyre looks like it's about to explode. That thing is absolutely worn. He's hanging on. He wants to stay with Colin because that's where their battle's at. As we see our race leader now. Race leader, Rolls can hardly, has finally come into the pits. He's coasted it in there. He's got no fuel remaining. And we see Spud making his way past, so he's got the run on Rolls. Rolls is now getting the new tyres added, and we see Sir Dids absolutely flying past the start-finish line. He's also got the moved up on Rolls. Now the question that we all want to know, has Ando done it? Yes, he has. As we see Rolls coming out of the pits now. Ando making his way around the first corner, so staying out the extra lap with the worn tyres has hurt him. Ando's managed to make that position by driving like an absolute alien. As we move up through the field, Dids is going to have to piss this lap, so he's going to lose the spot to Ando. And Spud is going to have to do the same thing. So our contentional race leader at this point in time is Ando in 3rd place for WTCC Racing, followed very closely by Rolls Can Hardly. He's short fuel because he's just put in enough to finish the stint. Will that be able to help him get around a little bit faster and catch up to the back of Ando? Or is Ando already too far gone? He looks to be roughly about 3 seconds ahead. He looks to be stretching that lead out. We move back up to Ando making his way around the last couple of corners before the final stretch. Rolls really not that far behind. As we see our now second place. So Spud's stayed out for an extra lap again. How has he made the fuel last? He looked like he absolutely needed to come in last lap. We've seen Dids come in with 5% fuel remaining. I won't be surprised if I see Spud come into the pits with 0. I think he's going to coast it right over the line. 1% if he does a really good job of saving the fuel. But moving down, Ando is our potential race leader at this point in time. He's got enough fuel to get to the end. He doesn't need another stop. He'll definitely go past Spud because he's not far behind. Rolls just slightly dropping off the back. Not quite keeping up with Ando at this point in time, but absolutely giving it all he's got. He should end up in second, possibly third, depending on where Spud goes into the pits. Aussie in 4th place, followed closely by Dids from Strike Team Racing. Wayno for the Juice entry there in 6th. We've got Super VT making her way up the field in 7th place. Colin having a great drive. He's up to 8th place now. So that's his second car for West End. Griffo there in 9th. Kane Payton in 10th. Ryoff in 11th. Piercy in 12th. HC Lewis 13th. Scotty in 14th. And Rusty Nutt rounding out the end of the field. As we see Spud now coming into the pit bay, chucking on a new set of tyres, and Ando goes flying past. So we knew that this was going to happen, but how many positions will Spud drop? Ando's put on a fantastic lead. Wow. As we see Rolls only just starting to go past Spud now as Spud comes out of the pits. So Spud looks like he has jumped a position from 4th up to 3rd. But unfortunately, it's not enough to keep himself in front of Rolls Can Hardly. We knew Ando was going to make it past, but it was going to be very close between the two, which it was. But Rolls has managed to just find a little bit of extra time. With a set of cold tyres now, this first lap is going to be quite hard for him to keep up with the pace. He's going to be pushing quite hard, where Rolls' tyres are already warmed up. So we probably will see Rolls maybe make a little bit more gap on Spud. We'll have to wait and see, but Ando well out in front. Barely see a car in the background at all. Absolutely flying. 17-17. Pushing that car as fast as it can as we see him making his way across the line at the end of lap 27, pushing on to lap 28 of 34 in the MotorMotion ShawFire V8 Supercar Series. So we move down through the field once again. We've got Rolls Can Hardly making his way across the line in 2nd place. MSR Spud has Nick Patasso there in 3rd, the Golden Voice, and the first of the Mustangs coming on to lap 28. Moving down, we've got Aussie with a half-second penalty. He's going to have to serve that at the end of the next stint around here. That's going to be really unfortunate because Dids is right on his tail. All he has to do is stay with him for this lap, and he's going to get an easy overtake coming up the end of lap 28. We've got Wayno in 6th place, driving there for the juiced entry. Trying very hard to stay in that slipstream of Dids. He doesn't want to get too far behind and be left off. As we see the yellow flags come out, we move up into Aussie to have a look and see which car it is. We see a bit of tyre smoke. It looks like Rolls has possibly had a moment. We'll move back onto Aussie and just double check. Yeah, there's no one between them, so Rolls has had a moment. We can see he's got a little bit of damage that's just come off. So Rolls has had a little bit of an incident, pushing the car too hard, trying to keep up with Ando, but it looks like Spud's managed to make his way past. He's now in 2nd place as he comes across the line with a 1:17.9. That Mustang is absolutely flying. The fastest lap of the night is a 1:16.8. And Ando is an absolute alien, and I haven't seen anyone else manage to get themselves up there. If we look at the qualifying times of the sheet, Ando had pole with a 1:16.6. Rolls was a very close second with a 1:16.748. Ryoff was actually in 3rd place ahead of Spud with a 1:17.478. and Spud's qualifying time was a 1:17.491. So he has actually managed to go faster than that in the race. No, not quite. He's done a 1:17.949. Apologies, my mistake. As we see him navigating these couple of corners, making sure that he's giving the car everything he's got. I don't think he's going to be able to catch Ando with the pace that Ando seems to have found in that Chev. But he is the first Mustang on the grid. As we go down through the order, we've got Rolls-Can Hardly there for West End Motorsport on the podium. He's our race leader in the championship. You see the orange numbers on the side of the car, the 270. He's still on podium tonight here at Sardegna Road B. Aussie just outside of the podium with Sir Ditz right on his tail. We've seen him serve that penalty, but hasn't been enough for Ditz to get past, unfortunately. Ditz there for Strike Team Racing in 5th place and Wayno in 6th. Not much has changed. These guys are battling it out, biding their time, waiting for the opportune moment to make it move on their fellow competitor. As we jump on board with Super VT for a lap around Sardegna Road B. As we see Monica Camilleri making her way across the line, the end of lap 30. She's managed to post herself a 1:18.2, so she's still putting down some very competitive times. Unfortunately, no one is able to have any answers for the times that our race leader Ando is putting out. He has done 1:17s and 16s very consistently. He's driving like an absolute madman, and he's managed to save a lot of tyres, a fair bit of fuel compared to the competition. As we move down to Spud, who's managed to stay out a little bit longer in the last stint. It's jumped him up through the order. He's now in 2nd place. We thought it didn't quite work, but now that the tyres have come into temperature, he's managed to make his way past Rolls. After Rolls has had an incident, we saw that tyre smoke very briefly together, but unfortunately, we can see Rolls has a lot more fuel but a lot more tyre wear. So he's heavier and punishing the tyres for it as well. I don't see him catching Spud in the next 3 laps. But never say never as we finish lap 31, moving on to lap 32. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, only 3 more laps remaining, 32, 33 and 34 itself. As we move into turn 1 with Rolls, come absolutely flying around there, using everything he's got, sending the car sideways once again. Surely this is for the fans. He knows he can't catch Spud. He's putting on a bit of a drift. Mate, the race isn't over yet. You've still got a couple of laps to go. Try to save those tyres and get across the line safely. Who knows what could happen? So we move down, we see Aussie, Diz and Wayno. That battle pack of 3. These guys have been pushing each other to go faster every single lap. So we can see the 18s very consistently there from Aussie, who's managed to hold off the rest of the field. Very good drive for WTCC. This should see those guys up the points a fair bit in the team's title, as we see Ando in 1st place and Aussie in 4th. We've got Sir Ditz there for Strike Team Racing in 5th place, and once again all 18s down the last couple of laps. So these guys are very, very close in times. They haven't managed to lose each other or pass each other for the last 3 or 4 laps. We see Wayno seems to unfortunately be dropping off at the back of this lap here. He's had a very good last 2 laps. Lap 29, he was a bit down. So we've seen him right on the tail of Sir Ditz for the last 2. He's just managed to fall off the back as we see him come across the line at the end of lap 32. Manages to get a 1:18.9, so still very consistent. Kane Payton, Ned Racing, this is probably the furthest we've seen him down the field this late in the race. He's there in 7th place, just doesn't quite have the pace of the leaders at this point in time. The 1:16.9, so he is making a slight amount of ground on that battle pack ahead, but not enough. He's only got 2 laps to go, and he's got Griffo pressuring very heavily into turn 1, trying to force the mistakes. We see Kane drag a bunch of sand across the track in front of Griffo, saying, hey mate, take this, that'll slow you down. The 2 Camaros pushing very hard around the track. So we move down to HC Lewis, and Super VT's teammate here in 9th place. Very consistent times as well, pushing the 18s out, really driving the wheels off that Mustang, doing a fantastic job. These cars have been really struggling to keep up with the Camaros, but they've also been quite consistent and quite good on fuel. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next round, round 6, Deep Forest, which I believe will favour the Mustang slightly over the Camaro. We'll have to wait and see if these guys can take opportunity of that and push themselves up the field a little bit to grab some really crucial points in the pointy end of the season. We've only got 2 rounds to go after this one here, ladies and gentlemen. Round 6 will be at Deep Forest on the 21st of Feb, and the final round will be round 7 at Bathurst on the 28th, the week following. Remember, the stream is delayed, so it will always be the weekend after the race that you've seen, minus this one, as we did take a break last weekend for Valentine's Day. Moving down through the field, we've got Colin in 10th, Scotty in 11th, Ryoff in 13th, battling there with Piercy. Super VT's dropped down the field in 14th. Something's happened to her as we see Ando's just come across the line. Too fast for me to commentate. Absolutely flying. I thought I had a couple more seconds. We see Spud now making his way around the final couple of corners. Very light on the fuel. He's only just put enough in to make himself very, very, very happy on the podium there with 2nd place as he flashes the lights for all his fans. We've got Rolls coming around now. Half-second penalty to serve. Rusty lap car looked like he was going to try to make the move past him, but didn't quite make it. We've got Aussie and Dids having an absolute drag race with a finish. Oh, Aussie's just managed to get it done. Followed very closely by Wayno. That was that battle pack that we've been following for a while. Kane Payton here in 7th. Looks like he's got a decent gap over Griffo, so he's going to take 7th place. Griffo almost ready to take out the pit wall. Bit of a flash for the fans. HC Lewis there in 9th place, followed by Colin in 10th, GLR Scotty in 11th, and a very, very close finish there between Ryoff and Piercy, but Ryoff gets it. 12th place, Piercy in 13th. Super VT making her way across the line in 14th, and as we've seen, Rusty was lapped, so he has finished out the end of the race there in 15th place. Our race winner though, Ando, absolutely flying. I can't believe how quickly he's managed to get around the track. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes round 5 at Sardegna Road B for the MotorMotion ShawFire V8 Supercars series. And what a race it was. We've seen Ando go off the track at the start of the race on lap 1, turn 1. Managed to battle his way back through the field in a very short consecutive amount of laps. And then also managed to get himself back up into the lead and take the race win. What a drive. Absolutely fantastic. And really honourable mention to Spud. That was probably the fastest I've seen a Mustang this series. He's had a great drive and a really good pit strategy. I've got to give it to him. He's done fantastic. He's managed to get past Rolls through the pits. He's had an absolutely fantastic drive with just 17s and 18s really on the board. And Rolls himself, yes, he put a show on for the fan. He was our race leader, but we're going to have to wait and see where the points end up after everything's tallied up at the end of this round. I'd have to say that my drive of the day is probably not what you expect. Ando did drive the absolute wheels off it to get it back, but I'd say Spud had his work cut out for him in that Mustang. The positions he's managed to grab and how far he's managed to make it up the field. He qualified in fourth place. So he had a bit of work to do to get there, and then to really just have a really good jump through those pit stops. I just have to say that Spud's done an amazing job. We know that the Mustangs had a little bit of a disadvantage in speed compared to the Camaro, but he's really managed to make it work, and that's a podium, second place for him. Well done, congratulations. Make sure you jump onto our Facebook page to vote for every time you see one of these races end, see who the fastest driver or best and fairest award will go to. That is all from me, folks. So stay tuned for next week when we go to Deep Forest, round 6 on the 21st of Feb. We will be doing a delayed broadcast. So next week, possibly, I believe, on the Saturday, make sure you tune in and share us with the hashtag Light It Up. We look forward to seeing you and all of your comments. Have a great night.